Good morning. Welcome back to my kitchen and another apron strings recipe. You ever get up sometimes and try to think about what you're going to have to eat, and you think about 5 or 6 different things and you can't make your mind up on any one thing? But I finally decided today that I would make what we call Mexican cornbread, and it's my basic cornbread that I make from scratch. And I add creamed corn, onions, jalapenos, and cheese to it. And I put a layer of it in the pan. And then meanwhile, I have browned off hamburger meat with onions and bell peppers in it. And I drain it really well, and I'll put a layer of my cornbread mix and a layer of the meat, cheese on top of the meat. And then the cornbread mix, and then I bake it. And I serve it with sour cream and salsa. So I've got frozen ground beef that I've got in the skillet. I'm going to have to thaw and brown, and then I'm going to add my bell peppers and onions and let them saute down. And then I will make the cornbread. I'm going to bring y'all along for each step of the way, but I want to tell you the advantages of having a vacuum sealer. You can have the Food Saver or whatever brand. But the ground beef that I'm using today, I vacuum sealed in bags in August of 17. That's 2 years. That meat has kept perfectly in my freezer. So it's worth an investment in a vacuum sealer. I had a Food Saver for years, and that's what I would seal my food for the freezer. And also I had the jar sealer on it, and I would use that for my freeze-dried stuff until I got my Vac Master. Just a quick tip to let y'all know, it's pretty good to have a way to preserve stuff. It doesn't freezer burn when you vacuum seal it. One of these days pretty soon, I'm going to do a video on all of my gadgets that I enjoy using, and give y'all some insight into why I like them and what I use them for, and how they help my process to go more quickly, but also a lot of them help with the preservation of the food. Okay, let me get this cornbread stuff going. I've got my meat in the skillet, and it's just frozen beef. And when that thaws and browns down, I'll bring you back. I'll add the peppers and onions to it, and then we will get on with making this delicious Mexican cornbread. I've got my bell peppers and onions chopped. A half a cup of bell peppers and about 1.5 cups of chopped onion, and I'm going to put that into the ground beef that I've got browned and just let it wilt, just get tender. And I also put a tablespoon of onion powder and a scant teaspoon of garlic into the meat, and salt and pepper to taste. Okay, my veggies are kind of sweated down, so I'm fixing to get over here and mix up the cornbread. I have everything ready for the cornbread, so let me get the camera tilted down where you can watch me mix it all together. In my bowl, right here, I've got 2 cups of cornmeal and 1 cup of flour. And I've just mixed that together till it's blended. I'm going to put in 4 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of salt, and I've got about 3 tablespoons of onion powder and a teaspoon of garlic powder going in. And I'm just blending that pretty good. And I've measured 1.5 cups of milk. I'm not sure just how much, so let me see how much of that it's going to take. I think it's going to take the full 1.5 cups. Maybe it might take a little more. I don't know. We'll see. Because I'm going to put 2 eggs in it. And also a can of cream-style corn. I think 1.5 cups is going to be perfect. Y'all, I never measure this. I just dump it and make it. So I'm trying to make a recipe, because I had to have it for y'all, and it'll be good for my kids to have too. Kind of exactly what I do. So I'm going to dump in my 2 eggs. And I'm going to add my can of corn, cream-style corn. And get that stirred in. A tablespoon of sugar. Okay, I'm going to add in a cup of chopped onions and 1/2 cup of chopped pickled jalapenos. That's just like the nacho peppers, and then I just chop them all up. About 1/2 cup of grated cheese in there. Just enough to kind of give it a little something extra, because we're going to have cheese on the inside layer when I layer it in the pan. And I've melted just enough bacon grease to cover the bottom, and then I'm going to run it around where to be up the sides some too, because I don't want my cornbread sticking. It's kind of like a cornbread pot pie made with beef. Okay? And I'm just going to spread that around till I have the bottom of the pan covered good. And what I do with it, and it's still very hot, I just put a layer of it on top of the cornbread. According to how much you want. I like a pretty thick layer of meat because this is a whole meal. And it is very filling. I always do extra meat when I'm doing this because I'll have meat ready for a casserole for the next day. So I would say you need about 1.5 pounds of meat for this, because I think I've done 3 pounds and I've used about half of it in the cornbread. Okay. There's how it looks. So now I'm going to put me a layer of my cheese, and this is mild cheddar. So in all, I'm going to be using 2 cups of cheese. I put 1/2 cup in the cornbread, and then I'm just sprinkling the rest of it in the center of this. Now you could use whatever kind of cheese you want to. This was an 8-ounce package. And I cheated and got that was already shredded for me today. Now I serve this with a dollop of sour cream and some of my homemade salsa. So can y'all see that I'm just spreading this around on the top of the meat mixture and the cheese. And I'm trying to not rub that cheese all around, because I do want that layer of cheese in the center. Get it all in there now. I'm going to put this in about a 375 oven, and it's going to take it about 30 to 35 minutes at least. Okay, the cornbread is out of the oven, and it's hot, hot, hot. But there's what it looks like. And I'm fixing to let it cool just a little bit so it won't fall apart, and I'll dish some up and show y'all how I serve it. Okay, here's what the cornbread looks like where I cut it. There's cornbread on the bottom, meat in the middle, and then cornbread. Here I've got Troy's portion ready for him to sit down at the table and eat. I put sour cream and picante or salsa that I made on the top of it. Okay, y'all, see there? Keep my promises. You got another good recipe that we enjoy having. So I'm fixing to take this over to the table where Troy can eat him some supper, and I'm fixing me a piece too. And I'll be back here tomorrow with another good recipe. Now in the meantime, y'all need to find a good recipe and put some food on your supper table, and remember to cut all those devices off and give those kids and your family and your sweetheart some of your undivided attention and make some memories. The good Lord bless y'all, and I'll see you tomorrow.